The small town in the Wild West, nestled between vast grasslands and distant mountains, was suddenly caught in a commotion. Heavy black clouds seemed to herald the coming of a great disaster, and fear crept into the eyes of every person here. One morning, before the sun had time to disperse the morning mist, the Apache chief, a dignified figure, respected by all, led a troop to the town. Wearing an animal skin coat painted with the patterns of his ancestors, he walked amid the wary but hopeful eyes of those around him. He and his troops did not come with hostile intentions, but to demand justice for his daughter who had mysteriously disappeared. While everyone was still in shock, whispers began to rise, discussing the cause and the person behind this heartbreaking incident. Everyone was worried, even suspicious of the neighbors. The atmosphere in the town became more tense and stifling than ever, to the point where it seemed like it could be cut into pieces. However, the Apache chief did not let himself be drawn into this whirlpool of chaos. He began to search for every clue, patiently collecting every little bit of information. With the help of some of his people, he was determined to discover the truth, no matter how cruel it might be. The appearance of the chief not only accelerated the search, but also changed the situation and created the premise for an unprecedented alliance between people who had once been enemies. It was from here that the seeds of unity were quietly sown, opening a long journey where trust and friendship would be tested. This great calamity may be a long night, but hopefully the dawn of peace is not far away. The Apache chief, a man with deep eyes and unwavering determination, led his troops into the town. He walked slowly, each step weighing the weight of the pain he was suppressing. The crowd of townspeople gathered, with curious eyes mixed with confusion. A tense atmosphere prevailed, as if the whole town was holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Rumors spread like wildfire, groups of people whispering to each other, pointing and whispering. Doubt seemed to fill their eyes. Who was behind this tragedy? Was it an evil hand from outside the town, or was it someone from within our ranks who had betrayed us? The chief, dressed in Apache garb, tried to suppress his inner rage, and began to meticulously collect clues. He searched every corner of the town, met every person, listened to every story, even the smallest whispers. Night falls, the moonlight gently shines. The clan leader sits contemplating by the small fire. He knows that this search cannot be easy, but he also understands better than anyone that this is the only chance to find his daughter. In his mind, the image of his daughter appears clearly, urging him to continue this difficult journey. The townspeople also gradually realize that, in this search, they need to stand with the clan leader to find the truth, to bring peace to all. The small town, nestled in a valley in the middle of the far west, suddenly became unstable. Through the rumors, a terrible truth gradually emerged. Not innocent people, but notorious bands of bandits had kidnapped the daughter of the Apache chief. Fear and tension surrounded, making the foliage and the wind rustle through the branches become eerie. The chief, with his heart torn between pain and duty, could not ignore his responsibility to his people and family. He held discussions with the people of the town, patiently searching for clues amid the myriad of rumors. He knew that time was pressing and every minute was precious. All the clues gradually pointed to a brutal band of bandits who regularly ravaged this land. The discoveries shattered the suspicion between the people and the Apache, forcing them to face an undeniable truth. The real enemy was not from within but from the darkness outside. Unity was the only way they could go to regain justice and peace. The lessons of pain and courage begin to tighten the alliance between two groups of people who were once distant. They not only recognize each other's value in this war, but also in peace in the long run. Standing on the line between hostility and cooperation, the next step is to establish a reluctant pact, to face together the danger from the bandits still looming in the dark. Realizing that a common danger was threatening the survival of both communities, the Apache chief and the town mayor decided to meet in an emergency meeting. The scene in the small hall, with only a few simple wooden tables arranged in a U-shape, blended with the soft light from flickering candles. The two men sat facing each other. The atmosphere between them was tense, but also filled with determination. The Apache chief, with a determined look in his eyes and full of fatigue from his missing daughter, placed his hand on the table, breaking the heavy silence. He emphasized that both sides had suffered losses and could no longer continue to suspect each other in this urgent situation. The mayor, a middle-aged man with silver hair, nodded in agreement. He realized that to repel the ferocious bandits and save the young girl, they would need to combine the strength of both the town and the Apache. In those first words, a reluctant pact was gradually outlined. The handshakes were not only an agreement between the two leaders, but also a commitment from the entire community. The mutual respect and determination created a strong alliance that no one expected. They understood that time was running out, and division would only bring defeat. The meeting ended, and the chief and mayor left with a lighter heart, knowing that the darkness that had enveloped them had been pierced by the light of cooperation. The foundation for the coming battle was built with a new trust in each other, and both the town and the Apache prepared themselves for the confrontation with a common enemy, bringing them closer together than ever before. Amidst the anxiety and suspicion, the small town in the far west gradually underwent a miraculous transformation. The Apaches, though they were strangers, gradually became an indispensable part of the lives of the townspeople. As the darkness of misunderstanding gave way to the light of trust, people stopped blaming and began to find ways to help each other. As each day passed, the people found themselves smiling more as they watched the Apaches help draw water from dry wells or repair rickety roofs. The children, who had been frightened by the cold eyes, were now familiar with the mysterious stories of the people from far away. The campfire flickered in the night sky, where smiles gradually replaced suspicion. The songs of the Indians and the colorful stories of the past resonated, creating an unprecedentedly warm atmosphere. The chief, with his majestic appearance, now appeared regularly with the head of the town in meetings to discuss solutions. Those who had been far away, strangers, now stood shoulder to shoulder, forming a solid unity never seen before. A new kind of affection blossomed, erasing the invisible boundaries of the past. The barriers between the two communities gradually disappeared, replaced by a deep trust in each other. As night fell, the townspeople and the Apaches knew that, although danger still lurked, with the strength of humanity and unity, they could overcome any challenge. Tomorrow, they would stand together, confront their common enemy, and protect their land and their loved ones. The war was a test of their budding bond, but they were ready for whatever challenges the future might bring. Under the full moon, the rescue plan was carefully discussed between the Apaches and the townspeople. The two sides, once separated by long-standing cultural and historical differences, now found common ground in their confrontation against a common enemy. The notorious bandits, with the wise leadership of the Apache chief and the sharp intellect of the town mayor, a joint strategy was drawn up. The Apache warriors, known for their agility and ability to fight skillfully in the rugged terrain, decided to take the lead in the pursuit of the enemy. They used their knowledge of the terrain to create unexpected traps, confusing the bandits as they searched for a way to attack. Meanwhile, the townspeople, with their rifle skills and unyielding courage, took on the task of defending tenaciously. Simple torches were transformed into secret signals between the lookouts, creating an effective communication system that would not be detected by the enemy present. Clear strategy, high team spirit, ignited the hope of victory, overcoming all worries and insecurities. The night before the battle, as everyone prepared for the decisive battle, stories about family, about loved ones, created a warm and determined atmosphere in every heart, every eye. From an initial grudge, now there is understanding and sincere respect between them. Two communities, once separated, now join hands to draw a future without fear. The darkness of night fell over the town like a mysterious black cloak. The notorious band of raiders, full of confidence from their previous bloody exploits, quietly advanced from the outskirts of town. The flickering light from the lanterns was not enough to dispel the shadows that covered the place. The Apaches and the townspeople, now allies, gathered on the top of the small hill overlooking. They held their breaths, their heartbeats mingling in the air thick with tension. The Apache chief stood at the head, his eyes as sharp as knives, ready to command whenever necessary. The neighing of the raiders' horses was like an omen, growing more urgent as they approached. The whole town seemed to be immersed in a terrifying silence. Only the faint whispers of the hidden warriors could be heard. They knew that, in just a moment, the final battle would begin, deciding the survival and fate of all. Suddenly, a silver light flashed in the night mist, like a signal of the beginning. The Apaches now moved as quickly and silently as ghosts, while the townspeople stood firm in their carefully prepared protective structures. They were no strangers to gunfire, ready for this historic confrontation. Everyone was in position as planned. The darkness was still thick, as if wanting to embrace everything. But hidden behind the darkness, the fire of struggle was smoldering, waiting for the moment to explode to gain true freedom and peace for the small town in the challenging far west. In the quiet night, the heavy breathing of the whole town and the Apaches resounded, half tense, half excited. The final battle had just begun. The torches were blazing, illuminating the determined faces and eyes that burned with hatred. The sound of guns resounded incessantly in the night sky, mixed with the sound of galloping horses, along with the cheers of encouragement. The Apaches, with their natural strength and green forest life, steadfastly fought back against the fierce attacks of the bandits. The townspeople, although unfamiliar with war, were filled with courage, fighting alongside their new friends. Every passing moment was a game of chance between life and death. Each bullet flew through the wind. Each fierce battle pushed everyone into a spiral of fear and strange courage. In a moment of fighting, a burst of fire blazed from the town, illuminating the figures moving nimbly between the two defensive fences. Inside the maze, the palace was in chaos. The urgent call of the daughter's name rang out. Each sound seemed to tear the heart apart. A small group of Apaches decided to break through, tearing down the barrier, taking advantage of the robbers' commotion. In the blink of an eye, they found the girl being held captive in a dark tent. Eyes filled with hope, the daughter was freed into the arms of her allies. Finally, after suffocating hours, the robbers had to retreat before the strong solidarity of the town and the Apaches. When dawn broke, the light of the new day dispelled all darkness, bringing peace and immense joy to all. Trust and friendship had blossomed from those difficult hours, opening a new page of peace for the town and the Apaches. The darkness of the night battlefield seemed to cover everything, but the courage of the Apaches and the townspeople still shone brightly. In the chaotic conflict, the sound of gunfire echoed like music for a heroic epic. The faint rays of light from torches and gunshots flashed between the two sides, accidentally illuminating the tense faces of the fighters. In the midst of the chaos, a shrill scream tore through the air. It was the kidnapped daughter. The Apache chief, his heart pounding, walked through the fire and bullets to get closer to where she was being held. He felt every breath of his breathing match the rhythm of the battle. Every step was heavy, but he was determined not to stop. Finally reaching the place where she was being held, he and a few brave villagers broke the lock, freeing her from her captivity. When the sun rose, the first rays of sunlight brought the promise of a bright new day. The bandits were repelled, running away amid the triumphant cheers of the two allied forces. The light the dawn was now not only the beginning of a new day, but also a symbol of victory and unity between the Apache and the townspeople. With deep gratitude, the people clasped the hands of the Apache warriors. In the smile of the rescued daughter, there was not only the joy of reunion, but also the hope for a peaceful future. Old wounds were gradually healed, giving way to a strong bond between two once-enemy communities. They not only defeated the bandits, but also overcame the barriers of disagreement to build a foundation for peace and prosperity. The day of the Apaches and the townspeople's return was marked by an indescribable joy. The shimmering dawn covered every corner of the town, bringing joy and peace after the stormy days. Groups of people stood waiting at the town gate, their hearts pounding as they saw the familiar figures returning. The Apache chief, with steady steps and eyes full of faith, led the victorious army. In his arms was his beloved daughter, who had been freed from the clutches of the cruel bandits. Hundreds of hands were raised in welcome. Cheers mingled with the sound of the wind whistling through the vast grasslands. The townspeople ran together to welcome their Apache friends, their eyes filled with gratitude and love. Tight handshakes, warm hugs, all contained deep gratitude. The previous conflicts and suspicions had completely disappeared, giving way to a strong brotherhood. The chief's daughter, smiling, gently holding her father's hand. Tears of joy rolled down her cheeks. She felt the strong unity between two seemingly incompatible communities. This was not only a day of joyful reunion, but also a symbol of a new peace in the Wild West, a peace that was costly in the unity and courage of both sides. Here and now, the Apache and the townspeople crossed the threshold of a new chapter of hope, a chapter they wrote together with sincere feelings and strong bonds. As dawn spread across the far west, the small town entered a new era of peace. The barriers that had once separated the Apaches and the townspeople were gradually replaced by bridges spanning the ocean of trust and understanding. The final victory over the bandits not only brought safety to everyone, but also created strong bonds that few expected. The townspeople, who had been fearful and skeptical, now opened their hearts to their Apache allies. In their previously closed eyes, there was now respect and understanding. People who had been strangers became friends, sharing stories and life experiences. Together they built the town's future, protecting the peace that had just been won from the hands of the wicked. In that atmosphere, the Apache chief and his daughter often came and went to town, a living symbol of enduring solidarity. The girl who had been at the center of the conflict now became a bridge between the two cultures. She learned to integrate into life here, walking side by side with new friends, together creating a strong community. In peaceful afternoons, the people and the Apaches laughed and talked together, sharing meals under the sunset. Laughter, music, and dance wafted across the green grasslands. The small town that was once covered in darkness now found new light and hope. Peace did not stop at handshakes, but also spread in the hearts of each person, bringing faith in a future of mutual development. The town and the Apaches wrote a new page of history, filled with love and solidarity never seen before. In the middle of the vast grasslands, the small town in the far west returned to a peaceful life after the tense upheavals. It had been a long time since anyone had heard the sound of gunfire echoing down from the distant hills. The dusty wooden roofs had now been swept clean, along with rows of wildflowers blooming along the road, as evidence of the strong vitality and rebirth. Early in the morning, the townspeople quietly looked at the distant horizon, where the sunlight dyed the vast land golden. Every dawn, when the cries of the young birds woke up the fields, people remembered the distant but unforgettable days when they and the Apache fought side by side against the common enemy. The arms that had been clasped in the treaty were no longer just memories, but had become symbols of eternal unity. One day, the Apache chief and a few people from the tribe visited the town. It was a peaceful morning. Laughter echoed through the clouds. Children played around their feet, looking at their new friends with admiration and curiosity. Adults smiled brightly, chatting with each other as if there had never been a gap. The war was over, but the lessons and memories remained forever. The Apaches and the townspeople did not just stop at peace, but also learned together how to build a more sustainable future. They shared farming techniques, exchanged goods, and held cultural festivals to honor the identity of each community. These things forged friendships, fueling the flame of peace that never went out. As time passed, the story of their unity became a legend, passed down to future generations. In every dream of the people here, they saw endless grasslands, where peace and brotherhood forever shone under the eternal sun.